Welcome back. Today we're continuing our talk with point slope form. So point slope form is exactly what it says it is. It contains a point and it contains a slope. So remember our point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So if our first problem says write an equation in point slope form of the line that passes through the given point and has a given slope m. Here's our point. This is our x and our y. We know that our m is negative 2. So because this is the only x we have and this is the only y we have, we know that this is x1 and y1. So if we're going to write our equation, we go y minus y1, which we said was 4, equals our m, which our m is negative 2, so we can put negative 2 in there, times x minus our x1, and we said our x1 was negative 1. So now we have two negatives in a row here. We can just make that a plus. So our equation is y minus 4 equals negative 2 times x plus 1. Alright, now this one is saying we need to find the slope first, then write the equation in point slope form. So how we find our slope is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. This is our x and y, our x and our y. This is the first x we have, so that's x1. So then this would be x2. This is y1, and that's y2. So y2, 2, minus y1, 10, over x2, 4, minus x1, which is negative 3. 2 minus 10 is negative 8. 4 minus a negative 3, or 4 plus 3, is 7. So our slope is negative 8 over 7. Because it's slope, we leave it as a fraction. Now it just says to write in point slope form. So all we're going to do is use our slope and pick a point. I'm going to use this one because it doesn't have any negatives, so it'll be easy for us. So we'll start with y minus y1. Well, what we're using now only has one y. So that y1 is going to be 2 equals our slope, which is negative 8/7, times x minus our x1. And we decided our x1, if we're using this point, is going to be 4. So our equation is y minus 2 equals negative 8/7 times x minus 4. Same thing over here. This is our x1 and our y1, our x2 and our y2. So we start with our y2, which is 6, minus our y1. Our x2, which is 17, minus our x1, which is 9. 6 minus 4 gives us 2. 17 minus 9 gives us 8. We can simplify this to 1/4. So our m equals 1/4. Then we got to pick a point to put into our equation. Let's pick this point because we already have x1 and y1, so that makes it easier. So we have y minus our y1, which is 4, equals our slope, which is 1/4, times x minus x1, which our x1 we decided was 9. So those are our equations in point slope form. Now, if we take a look at this one, it says, tell whether the data in the table can be modeled by a linear equation. Explain that. If possible, write an equation in point-slope form that relates x to y, or y to x. So how we're going to do that is we need to take a look at our table, and if it is a linear equation, our line would go straight up or straight down. It's not going to look like this. We know a linear equation has just one slope, and it's constantly going up or down. So what we need to do is we need to find our slope. If we find the slope between this point, this is 3, -4, and this is 6, 0. If we're using these 2 points, then this is our x1, this is our y1, this is our x2 and y2. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to add those. We get 4 over 6 minus 3, which is 3. So our first slope is 4 over 3. Now, if this is going to be a linear equation, the rest of the slopes have to be the same. What we got to do is we got to pick a different set of points. So let's use 6, 0 and now 9, 5. And do the same thing. This is now going to be our x1 and y1. This is now our x2 and y2. So 5 minus 0 over 9 minus 6. 5 minus 0 is 5. 9 minus 6 is 3. Our slope is 5/3. Now it's close to 4/3, but it's not quite the same. So this is not linear. So that means we don't need to write an equation in point-slope form, because we already know that this is not linear. If we take a look at this one, we're going to have to do the same thing we just did. I'm going to pick 2 points. I'm going to use these 2. So we get 1 and -1.2 and 3, -0.8. So this is our x1, y1, x2, y2. Our y2 is -0.8 minus a -1.2. x2 is 3 minus 1. So if we make that a plus sign, -0.8 plus 1.2 is going to give us positive 0.4 over 3 minus 1, which is 2. Now I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to pick 2 different points. So we have 4 and -0.6 and 6, -0.2. So our x1, our y1, x2, and y2. So we have -0.2 minus -0.6 over 6 minus 4. That can be made a plus, so -0.2 plus 0.6 gives us a 0.4. 6 minus 4 gives us 2. Both of these slopes are the same. Now generally if we have 2 of the same slopes, we can just assume that the rest of them are going to have the same slope. So this is a linear function, but now it says write an equation in point-slope form. So we'll have y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Well, we know what our m is. We know our m is 0.4 over 2. We can then put our x in and our y in. We just need our x1 and our y1 now. Now that's easy. All we have to do is pick one of our points. So let's pick 1 and 1.2. Negative 1.2. So our x is 1, so this is our x1. And this would have to be our y1 then. So negative 1.2. I can make that a plus, and here's our equation. Alright, so this one says graph the equation. So we have y plus 1 equals 2 times x minus 5. First thing we gotta think, what is the coordinate pair? Well, we gotta look for our x and our y. In our equation, this would be our x1 and our y1. So our coordinate pair, our x1 is going to be 5. Now our y1, it says plus 1. It's supposed to be a negative. So what we know though is when we have a negative followed by a negative, we can make that a plus. So we know that this has to be a negative 1. So our point is 5, negative 1. So we can graph that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative 1. Now the second thing we got to think of is what is the slope? Well, it looks like in our m spot here is 2. So our slope is 2, or 2 over 1. So we're going to go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, or we could go down 2 to the left 1. And all we need to do is make our line. It's not the best line, but it gets the job done. Alright, a word problem. It says, from 1990 to 2001 in Boston, Massachusetts, the annual excess fuel in gallons per person consumed due to traffic delays increased by about 1.4 gallons per person each year. In 1995, each person consumed about 37 gallons of excess fuel. Write an equation that gives the annual excess fuel in gallons per person as a function of the number of years since 1990. So that's important, since 1990. Now it doesn't tell us what kind of equation to write, so I'm going to tell you to write it in point-slope form. Just ignore the slope-intercept, we don't need that right now. So what we need to do is we need to figure out a point and we need to figure out a slope. The first thing I know is that we're using 1.4 gallons per person each year. So this is the thing that always changes. 1.4 gallons per person, that's going to be our m, because that's always changing. So our slope then is 1.4 x. Or 1.4 is our slope, not 1.4x. If we think about this in slope-intercept form, we need y equals mx plus b. We need our slope. Our slope is the one that's changing. 1.4 is our slope. The gallons then would be our x. Our people. sorry, no, not our people or our gallons, each year. I didn't see that there. That's our x is going to be our years. So if we're going to write this, we know our 1.4 is our slope. What we need now is a point. So what we said was that our x is our years. So it says in 1995 each person consumed about 37 gallons of excess fuel. Well, our question is asking how many years since 1990? Well, if we look to see about our years, we can do 1995 minus 1990. That's going to give us 5 years. So that's going to be our first point, or our first variable, or x in our point. So our x is 5 years, because we said our x was years. The y then is going to be the total. So in 1995, each person consumed about 37 gallons. So we're going to have 5 and 37. So this is going to be our x1 and our y1. So if we write this then in our equation, we'll have y minus our y1, which we said was 37, equals 1.4 times x minus our x1, which we said was 5. So this is our equation in point-slope form. Now B says, how much excess fuel was consumed per person in 2001? Well, we can use our equation to figure that out, but this time we need to figure out what our years were since 1990 to 2001. So if we do 2001 minus 1990, that's going to give us 11 years. So our x then is going to be 11. So we'll have y minus 37 equals 1.4 times 11 minus 5. So all we need to do then is solve this. 11 minus 5 gives us 6 times 1.4 equals y minus 37. Now if we do 1.4 times 6, we get 8.4. Equals y minus 37. To get y by itself, I have to add 37. And then y equals about 45.4. And we said that we are looking for how much excess fuel, so 45.4 gallons in 2001. Alright, since Thanksgiving is right around the corner, we're going to talk a little bit about thawing turkeys. It says the table below shows the approximate amount of time in hours it should take to thaw a frozen turkey with a given weight in pounds. Our turkey weight is in pounds. It goes 6, 8, 12, 16. And our time in hours, so 28.8 hours, 38.4 hours, 57.6 hours, and 76.8 hours. A says explain why this situation can be modeled by a linear equation. Well, as the pounds go up, the time goes up. The time it thaws goes up. So this could be a linear equation. V, we need to find an equation in point-slope form that gives the total time in hours as a function of the weight in pounds. Well, what we need in our point-slope form is we need a point and we need a slope. So the first thing we can do is find the slope. We know that this is going to be our x and this is going to be our y. The input is 6 and the output is 28.8. What we're going to need to do is find our slope. So we'll have 6 and 28.8 and 8 and 38.4. This is our x1, our y1, our x2, and our y2. So our y2 is 30, oh, that's a bad 3 here, 38.4 minus 28.8 over 8 minus 6. 38.4 minus 28.8 gives us 9.6. 8 minus 6 gives us 2. So 9.6 over 2. We can simplify that to, if we divide that by 2, we get 4.8. So our slope is 4.8. Then we just have to pick a point. So I'm going to pick what I already have for x1 and y1, which is 6 and 28.8. So if we're going to write our equation, we start with y minus y1, which we decided was 28.8, equals our slope, which we found to be 4.8, times x minus our x1. Our x1 turned out to be 6. So there's our equation. Find the amount of time it takes to thaw a 9.5 pound turkey. So we're using pounds, and we discovered that our pounds were our x. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace 9.5 with x. So if I write this equation then, again, we'll have y minus 28.8 equals 4.8 times 9.5 minus 6. Now if we do 9.5 minus 6, that's going to give us a 3.5 times 4.8 4.8 times 3.5 is going to give us 16.8 equals y minus 28.8. So we got to get y by itself, so we're going to add 28.8. We get y equals 16.8 plus 28.8. We get 45.6. Now we said that this is the time in hours, so 45.6 hours. Last part, it says, when you thaw a turkey, you should thaw it in the refrigerator. What factors might affect the thawing time so they're different from the times in the table? Well, Some factors that could affect that could be your fridge temp, they could be if you thaw it in the microwave, or any other factors that you might have. Maybe your fridge breaks down and it thaws a lot faster than it should have. Any other factors you could think of.